Welcome, everybody, to the Founder's Journey podcast. Really, this podcast here is pretty straightforward. Like, we just keep it transparent and real on what we've experienced in this journey. I got Stuart here as well, the CEO of AMP, and we're going to break down how we got
I'm the CEO of AMP.
Did I say that? I said COO.
You said you and
I
Sam
said
both.
COO.
You and Sam both just throwing it out there for me. I didn't know I was getting a raise, a little upgrade here.
The COO.
There
I guess we both messed it up. Maybe we're both trying to say something. We're saying it differently. But what we want to do first is actually take a step back and walk through how we even got to where we're at today, how we have the team and where we're going. So I started AMP in November of 2022. Didn't launch it to the public until March of 2023. At the beginning of 2023, though, I brought on Stuart to help me with video editing and content creation because I just want to do more video. However, that relationship completely changed halfway through the year. So in July, I went to a event called the Forward event. I'm actually going back again this year because it was fundamentally changed the way I thought about business and how to grow. And I remember hearing all the speakers talking about how they made the decision to not be a solopreneur and invest into a team, and it allowed them to have more time freedom. They made overall more income for themselves, but also for the people that they worked with, and they were enjoying their life more. So I was at a point where I was doing everything, and it was becoming very overwhelming, and I started to lose my creativity. And so it was ironic because at the same time, I didn't know it was an option. Stuart was like, hey, I kind of was like, hey, are you used to stuff? He was like, yeah, I'm actually open to doing more of AMP stuff, as a full-time person, and get rid of other projects I had. Didn't know that was a thing, but we started that conversation literally as I was at the event. So starting in July, and Stuart coming here, that's when you came into the picture, and you kind of could take the story from there.
Yeah, we initially met in what, 21, 22? At JB Cells
in March.
In March, yep, 21 at I was brought in to help film with some people at the content house when you were still.
No, wait, that was 2022 actually.
It
was 2 years ago. Yes, 2 years ago.
It feels like so much longer.
It does.
It feels so long ago.
It was 2022. Yeah, right at the beginning.
Think about this. I've moved 3 times since that happened.
That is crazy.
That's crazy. I know. We just need to hold it down for a little bit. So anyways, we initially met there, and I got your phone number, and I don't think we really chatted that much that week because it was just like, we're shooting 100 something videos per person. Like, let's get it done.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's the sales guy in me coming out. I had to get the contact information. Had to close the lead there. So when I wasn't much of a LinkedIn guy either, even around that time. Like, I had no idea who any of y'all were. I was just like, oh, there's this group of people who rented out a mansion in Atlanta and want to film videos. Like, cool. And so I started to get on LinkedIn during that time frame because one of my buddies who runs service to software, Dave, was like, hey man, I run my company on LinkedIn. Me and him went to church together, and that's how we met, and that's how I ended up coming to that JB Cell shoot. And so I was like, okay, I need to get on this platform, just check it out. So I got on there, and literally the day I got on there was the day that you posted that you were leaving. I don't remember what was it? SAISIA.
My 8 weeks to
yeah,
my 8 week stint at SAA as a VP.
Yes. So you literally posted that you were leaving that and starting something else, and me just being the normal guy I am, the supportive guy I am, tried to text you and was like, hey man, if you ever need help. And I wasn't even trying to get anything. Like, at the time, business was going well and all that. And I was like, hey man, if you ever need help, feel free to let me know. Like, as you're going out on your own, you're like, oh yeah, man, that sounds awesome. Who is this? And I was like, I don't even know if I should answer now. Don't even know who this is. Didn't save my number or anything. So, anyways, I that was extremely demoralizing. And then we ended up meeting for we met for lunch or dinner one day up in Atlanta. What, a couple months later, and that was what, November maybe of 23, and now November 22. And you were like, "Why do you want to work with me?" I was like, "Whoa." And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm just sitting here trying to help you. Like, I run this company. You said you wanted to do this. I think we could be helpful. And so we started working together in January, and we helped you launch the business in March. Um, and then you and I just started staying up super late on the phone, chatting about different things. And I think we were really aligned on our philosophy when it came to business and where we were both trying to go in the next several years. And so then in July, I had another work opportunity come up, and I could just feel the momentum of what was starting to happen with a lot of the work that you and I were doing together inside of AMP. And so I had to make a decision. And at the time, you had literally just came back from the conference. The next week, I had to make a decision. Was I going to take a job or not? And then I was just like, are you at the point where I could, drop this or that and come on to AMP? Or is this something that I need to make the decision, take the other job, and then just contract this? You were like, nah, man, let's do it. And I was like, okay, here we go. And then my first day, like full time, was August 1st. And then I had my first child August 30th. And so that was that was a trying season, especially when it was just two of us trying to get a business off the ground and figure out what we were even offering, because I feel like our offerings changed 10 times every month during that time frame.
Yeah, easily.
But I think we both understood really quickly.
Employee advocacy, though, right?
Advocacy. I don't know why I wanted to come on.
Employee advocacy was the move, bro. That was it. That was the one.
Yeah, that was not selling. That's for sure. There was no market fit there. That's for sure. And
there really wasn't.
That was bad. That was really bad. And anyway, so we have evolved a lot since then. I'd say we understood. I feel like after I came on, probably maybe mid-September, I felt like we started to understand, oh crap, you and I are working 85, 90 hours a week to fulfill what we have. Like, as much as we don't want to build a team money-wise, we're also going to have to build a team to scale.
But also it was like, yes. And I think that operationally we were thinking about it off too, because we were
just
traveling.
Well, there's that too.
Traveling and fulfilling. And then there was no a continuous pipeline of that.
Yeah. Well, and so literally I had my son August 30th. You and I probably mid-September realized we're working a lot and we got to figure out how to get this thing operationalized. And then where did we go in September? I feel like we went somewhere in September.
We went to...
I know we went to GTM in October, but
we went to GTM. We went to Ascent, and we in New York, and then we did our own conference in October. We did our own conference in October, Toronto. And then I also was at Dreamforce for Slack too, and I also went to SaaStr. This is not. Don't recommend this my schedule, by the way. SaaStr, Dreamforce, Ascent, Go-to-Market Summit, and then we had our own. Bro, that was crazy.
That was crazy.
Not smart.
And I don't know why we tried to put on an event when there was literally just two of us. Like, I don't know why we were like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, I think, technically, no. We had a niche, because Anish was like part-time doing stuff, and he was supporting that.
When did he come on?
Till like technically November.
Well, I mean, he had to help us with the conference setting it up.
Oh yeah, so that what happened there was, ironically enough, that conversation happened in July. It happened in July. It was the same time.
Wow.
July was crazy, yeah. Because I was
Yeah.
talking to you, and then I was talking to Niche, but I was just like, let's do an event. So we started planning in July. We started planning that event. And then, but here's the thing though: if we didn't have that event, Garrett probably doesn't get hired.
No, because it was interesting. Because we went there thinking we were going to hire somebody else, and interviewed the person, and then just decided we couldn't agree on terms. We couldn't offer them what they were looking for at the time, and then through a couple sets of circumstances, especially you and I walking in at 4 a.m. and Garrett's laying on the floor and fell asleep editing photos from the event night, like that kind of made our decision for us.
It did. I think it's like, for anybody like really tuned in, like it's like, if you find someone who's gonna like put in massive amount of effort and just grind, like you almost gotta be like, yeah, we just gotta. That's the person we gotta get that person.
Especially if they're a culture fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if they can hang and they're willing to work, even if they're not, even if they don't have they haven't been in the SaaS industry for 15 years and have all the experience that people look for. Like, I mean, I hadn't been in the SaaS industry for 2 seconds. Outside of doing some partnership stuff. But yeah, I think he was definitely, that was what, October we were like, okay, he's the right guy, but because of his work at the time, he had to make it through Christmas in his role, and so we were like, all right, if we could just hold on till Christmas. And we tried everything, man. We tried outsourcing the video work. We tried outsourcing it to people recently, like around us locally. We tried outsourcing it overseas to get it done, and I feel like operationally we just couldn't get a good flow going with outsourcing the video work. So we went into the new year. Garrett started January 1st. We had to figure out, how do you onboard an employee? How do you do an offer letter? How are we doing W-2? Are we doing 1099? We didn't. Yep. We didn't just have hundreds of thousands of dollars laying around to be able to go hire a bunch of lawyers and ask them to come in and give us advice and all that. And so we ended up hiring him, doing the best we could with what we had at the time, and very quickly, I mean, I think it was February, we were like, I mean, he's tapped. He needs somebody else. So the goal of him, I feel like what we realized pretty quickly was, when I came on, my goal, or like my role in the business, I mean, it can sound sexy, like chief operating officer, but my role is basically just fill the gap until we have enough money to hire somebody to do the job, and then I move on to the other gap. And so,
yeah. Just the gap filler.
I'm the gap filler. That's actually the job. And so with Garrett, it was like, okay, he took all the fulfillment side of actually doing the work for the clients off my plate, which then meant, okay, now I'm spending time on scaling. Then I had to take over the finances. Then it was taxes. And then it was project management. How do we operationalize these things, and customer success? So I got rid of fulfillment and then went to those things instead. Yeah. And really quickly, Garrett got tapped on fulfillment, and we said, "Hey, we gotta have somebody else to do this." And I was saying, man, it would just be super helpful if you and I had an assistant, because between emails, Slack, text, phone calls, me and you combined probably get some sort of digital touch over 1,000 times a day, easy. And so to have somebody who can filter.
That's cool, crazy to think about. Now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, that's 100% what's happening.
It is. And so we have to have somebody as a filter there, so that we're not just losing focus every 10 seconds and context shifting. So you were like, okay, great. Do you have a guy? And I was like, yeah, I got a guy. And so we hired Stefano part-time for a week in February. And then the next week, Garrett's like, dude, I'm tapped. I got to have some help to be able to like meet these deadlines. I was like, all right, let me go talk to Stefano. So I talked to Stefano, called him back a week later. It's like, hey, man, would you be willing to come on full time and do some work with us instead of just contracting? And he's like, yeah, come on. So he comes on full time. He's one of those hybrid roles too, where he leads all the admin stuff for us. He now leads project management, and he does some fulfillment of client services. And hands down to this day, that is the fastest video editor I have ever met in my life. It is literally insane. Um, and that was a hidden skill I didn't even know that he was that good at. I knew he had it, but I didn't realize he was that good. And then when did we do our event? April. So in March, I feel like maybe even in February, we were like, okay, we want to do, and this kind of gets to the fun part of who our clients have been to. We were like, we need, maybe it was January or February, we were like, we need some good design. We're producing Calendly's first masterclass.
It was in March because we wanted, they came to us on a call. Calendly was like, hey, we want to do a masterclass. And then also at the same time, we wanted to do a rebrand. And then also we were doing AMP Up. So it was like 3 things that I was like,
we got to
cool,
have
I'm
a good
definitely
design.
not going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to me just like playing whack-a-mole, like I in Canva was the one who designed the first AMP Up, like slides and all that. And that was up. I mean, I think I was doing it a couple hours before the thing even started. I was like,
you were,
which is crazy. And so I was like, I'm not doing that again. And I do not have like that good of a design eye. Like I'm just
we cannot
pulling pieces here and there and whatever. So I was like, well, I know this guy, Trevor, he's really good at design. You know, he could help us out. And so then I don't remember I think the Calendly project was the first project he did for us and just crushed it.
Yeah.
I mean, Calendly's team was like, this looks awesome. Like, here's our brand guide. As long as you adhere to this, we're good. He comes back and just blew us all. I think he blew us out of the water. Like, oh, wow. Like, we don't, I couldn't even tell you how to do that. And you did it.
Yeah.
And so that was really helpful. And then when he rebranded us, I think he got the like tone of us perfectly as a company. Like we're not sterile and corporate, but we're also not childish and, you know, immature. And so I think he found a really good balance in between that was fun and edgy, but also professional. And like we've been around the block and we know how to do what we're offering. So right now, that's the current team. Am I missing anybody? That's everybody, right?
It's everybody. No, that's everyone. Anish, Stefano, Garrett, and then Trevor, obviously working in those capacities. Yeah. For sure.
We got some other people that are floating around right now that we're trying out. We'll see if
they're the wings.
We'll see if
they're the wings.
We'll see if they join the AMP.
They're the wings, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's up. But I think a reflection though, kind of like landing the plane on what's happened so far. The past 6 months have been crazy. I mean, just like we did an event in the Empire State Building. That's wild. Most people will never be able to say that, right? In partnership with LinkedIn. You know, most people don't get to partner with a brand like that. Doing a masterclass that had, you know, tens of thousands of people that are registered, right? It's just all these things that we've seen and we've done. And again, that was in the past 6 months. That's not like, hey, yeah, that's the past 3 years. Like, no, that was 6. This has been in the past 6 months, which is wild to me. Yeah. It's absolutely wild.
Well, I didn't even, like, that was just how the team got here. I didn't even go into clients or like the event side really deep. I don't know if you want to touch more on the client side, since that's obviously what you own.
Yeah, I think really, like, without, you know, there's some really exciting people that we have coming through. I mean, probably the biggest one is HubSpot, right? The fact that we're able to secure a HubSpot and we're now helping them with a lot of different things on the creator side, and we're focusing on this master sales series, right? I mean, that's amazing in itself. There's just so many great things that are happening there. And so that's easily the biggest win. But again, working with brands like a HubSpot, Calendly, and they see the value in what we're doing and letting us really run and produce is great. I just think also as well, like we look at it from the Empire State Building that really put us on the map as a whole and let people know that who we are as a brand. And I think now people know, like, okay, this is legitimate. It's not something random. And now it's up to us to capitalize on what do we need to start saying so that we can show people what we're about and what we're looking to do, right? Because that's going to be the big key of them all. But on the client side, HubSpot's obviously the big marker, which is allowing us to move into other areas as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think to even point to a level of legitimacy, I think something I'm excited about that you and I were talking pre-call was we're officially a 7-figure business. We have realized over $1 million of revenue in 18 months. If you legally count, if you count when it was legally started, yeah. So I mean, that's really exciting. That something that started in your mind, and then you and I piecemealed together for a year, and then now it's like starting to like. It's just interesting how like it was you by yourself for like a couple months, and then January to July it was me as a contractor with you, and then August to December was you and I trying to piecemeal it together. And then, man, I feel like not that we became like legit in January, but I feel like all the pieces came together to where we were able to start really running January. And like January to June feels like we're running a legitimate company, servicing clients, getting paid well, having to manage. I mean, I've learned more about finance in the last 6 months than I have my entire life. Let's just be honest. Taxes and Excel sheets.
They should give you. I should give you my major in finance and just give it to you this point.
I just keep reading. I just keep reading books, man. Watching Alex Hormozy videos and all that.
Hey, I mean that's a you know, speaking of Alex Hormozy, he's on a tear right now. That dude is locked in.
Yeah. That dude's a stud.
I think he has the best business content out right now by far. I don't think there's anyone even close.
Anybody who hates on him is just mad that they're not as jacked as he is. Let's just be honest. I mean, that dude's massive.
The only thing you can really hate on him, the only thing you can hate on him is that like he has like next to no style,
has no swag.
But yeah,
which that's probably to be fair. I'm like the widest middle class drive a minivan guy in the world, so like I get it. But at the same time, yeah, he's got no swag. That's about the only thing you could.
That's it.
But they probably don't make shirts for dudes that yoked. You know what I mean? Or else it's going to be skin tight all the time.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, all right, like I get it.
Yeah, wear a tank top. That's anyways. I don't know.
No, that dude's.
But
well, I think it's like with all this though. I mean, even talking about get to the the exciting thing of like the accruing the 1 million. I think the biggest thing is. I forgot who I was listening to. I think it might have been. I think it was a Greg Eisenberg tweet. I'm gonna say that was him, but I'm not sure. But he was talking about how like when as a entrepreneur, as the founder, executive team, etc., their earning capacity only is focused on the ceiling that you create because it's up to you, right? So like your ceiling can be unlimited because your growth is unlimited. I think that's like the biggest thing is like listen to like a Hormozy or even going to the Patrick Bet David event. That was just on unlock and like we could be doing way more. Like how is so and so doing that? Like we should be doing the same thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's just those moments are unlocks, which has allowed us to move so fast. I'm still in disbelief now as we do this recording in June, mid-June here. It's been 6 months.
Well, and what's crazy I haven't even touched on is the fact that in those 6 months, you moved to Arizona and I moved to Florida in that same time frame.
Yeah, things really haven't dropped. Things have been moving even faster since those moves, which is interesting. I feel like it's more of a like an environment thing.
Yeah,
like how much it can really impact it. Because most people, if they would have made those moves, like things go in the reverse. It ends up being bad.
If you look, okay, so previous year, January to April before I moved, my step count was averaging about 5,000 a day. If you look at when I moved, come on, get on there. If you look at when I moved from May till now, I'm averaging almost 11,000 steps a day. So to go specifically what you're talking about, of like your environments do change, or can change even your actions. I feel like that's been literally shown in the data of my life. Like yesterday, I got it after it yesterday, bro. 21,000 steps.
Holy crap.
Day before that, 16,000. Day before that, 15. Like the fact now that that looks low on my chart and that's almost 12,000 steps is like a positive thing for me.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's just like what? Is that just taking walks? Is that running? Like, what are you doing?
It's both. So in the morning now, we live in a really pretty area. So my wife and I walk every morning with our son. We walk like 2 miles when we wake up before it gets super hot because we're in Florida. And then at night when I get home, I go into an office during the day. It's just hard for me to focus when I'm at my house. And so when I get home from the office, I'll end up normally after we like eat dinner, put my son to sleep. I'll go and run for an hour to an hour and a half, and I'll just get after it. Like last night, man, I wasn't planning on doing anything crazy. I was planning on doing like a walk run workout where I ended up running like 2 miles maybe.
Yeah.
Dude, I came out hot and was just like pounding. I was doing like 2 minutes faster per mile than my normal time. And so I just went crazy. I went like walk one, walk a half, run one, walk a quarter, run one. Like I was just getting after it. It felt great. I'm pretty gassed today, so I'll probably do like a slow zone 2 thing tonight. But again, it's like I wasn't even thinking about any of that when we were living back where we were living south of Atlanta, because we were just in the suburbs and there was nothing like super pretty around, and you didn't really want to go walk because you were going to get bit by a dog or something. And so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. Whereas now it's like, dude, we can walk to coffee shops, we can run by the water. Like that's been a game changer. We're like a football field away from the river, which is beautiful. Um, so I feel like that's completely changed even my energy at work every day. Like I feel like I come in a lot more excited, come in a lot more locked in. I mean, losing weight helps.
It does. But also it's just like when you're able to just focus and lock in and say like, this is like what I'm gonna do to improve my life, it changes it. And also when their environment allows you to do so, like even, man, I went, you have you done GTX before?
No, you were telling me about this the other day.
Yo, bro, these there's like 67-year-olds killing it. Like I was like, what are these guys on? Like they're going so hard. But I love it. So it's like that's the mindset out here in Arizona. Like you can't be walking around unhealthy or unfit. Everyone here pretty much is active and fit. Like I've not seen that many slobby people out here.
That's how it is in like the neighborhood I live in down here. Jacksonville's weird where they do like it instead of having like cities like Atlanta, it's like these little pockets of neighborhoods. And so like the little 5 mile neighborhood that I live in, it's the same way where it's like every time I'm running, there's 100 other people either running or cycling or running with like you got moms out here running with strollers and stuff. Like it's crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm not used to being around that active of a lifestyle, which has been awesome, and it's made me more active, which has been great. So I've been shocked that we've been able to keep up the running at the pace we're running right now, even with you and I, because we were all me, you, Garrett, and Steph. Everybody but Anish was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And me, Garrett, and Steph lived like 3 minutes from each other. So if we needed to as a team, we could just come together super quick. But it's funny because then you and I just pop to the other sides of other sides of the nation, and yet I feel like things have actually been more streamlined and quicker and better responses. And I don't know, I feel like you wake up at like 2 a.m. every day, because when I wake up super early, you're like texting me. I'm like, bro, isn't it like 3 hours behind?
I think it's a routine thing. I think it's the cool thing about being in the West Coast is I always was against it because I felt like I would just be like so behind. But it's actually interesting. So, for example, even though the NBA finals suck right now, it's not good, y'all. It's terrible. But the games start at 5,
which is great.
You're done at like 7:45. So then you're like, all right, I've done my work for the day. I've already seen the game. Like, I could go. You're just like, okay, I can go do stuff. So then, like, I could go read whatever, and then I'm done by like 9, and then like I can go to bed at like 9:45, 10 o'clock. So me waking up at 4 is like reasonable. You get your hours of sleep, and like I'm up early, yeah, but like I'm back into the day. Plus, it's also been interesting. Like my days in at like 1 or 2 o'clock. That has also been interesting.
That's nice.
So then I'm like, oh, like I got a lot of time. So like I feel like it's actually increased my content. We're talking about problems here, but increased content, increased productivity. I'm able to get way more things done because of it. It's been that's an interesting point too.
Yeah, I feel like my days now are basically, I mean, outside like morning routine, run, walk, eat, all that stuff. I feel like now it's my like 9 to 5 is me just being available and talking to people all day long and putting out fires and communicating. I feel like that's it. And then when I actually get work done, it's like after I run late at night, it's like 9 to 11 p.m. when I'm working. That's when like actual work gets done. Yeah. But I just know Monday through Thursday, I'm going to walk into the day, and all I'm going to be doing is answering people's Slacks, texts, emails, calls, communicating, telling them where to go, what to do. Just because, I mean, that's just the rhythm we're in now. That's the role I'm playing. Those are the holes that I'm playing whack-a-mole right now, is just being the communicator. And someday soon, we're going to have somebody to lead the services side of the business, and then I'll be able to step back and not have to run the day-to-day and communicate. But I'm sure then I'll move on to a different seat. And so right now I know mine. But if I don't do those other things, like go run in the morning or walk with my wife in the morning,
all over the place.
Yeah, and then I'm probably going to be irritable when I have 500 people hitting me up for 500 different things that should have been done.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting season right now. I think one thing. I mean, I don't know where you want to go next with this conversation, but I know one thing that I've thought about recently too is we've had. I don't know. I feel like, with what we sell, things that we would say are valuable are, a good looking, a clear website, the way that you're producing content. Like, obviously we help out a lot with that. Different master classes, the way that we do our newsletter, like having a newsletter, driving people there. Like, those are all things we would say are extremely important. And those are all things we can help our clients with. But I think we started to get serious at the beginning of this year of like, okay, we got to put a focus. We have to put time on task and not run into, we're always servicing our clients, so then we don't do the work ourselves. And I feel like you really led the way there with LinkedIn. And then you basically gave me the newsletter where I was like, figure this thing out. And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. And I think that was another thing that was so frustrating. I recently wrote about this on LinkedIn where it was like, dude, for 4 months, 5 months, we're getting like 25, 26% open rate. And we're like, dude, what are we doing? And I was testing everything.
You were doing everything. Like,
I was testing everything every week, different days, times, subject lines, segments, literally anything you could test.
Yeah.
And we finally cracked the code I don't know what this
I
is.
feel like
This is
the
June.
burden has been lifted from.
Oh my goodness, dude. I literally feel like now I could just take, like, at the time I just wanted to take this back, just like beat the newsletter if I could. But man, yeah, we're at a point now where it's like, man, I don't know what, 2 months ago now,
2 months ago.
we finally we tried for the 100th time a different date and time,
Yeah.
different subject line formatting, different segmenting, and I didn't even check it because I was like, I know it's gonna be 21% by the end of the day,
Yeah.
and I remember I signed on. I sent it on a Thursday morning, and I remember I signed on Friday night when I was getting my work done. It's at nighttime.
Yeah.
I signed on Friday night, and it was like 42%. I said, "Hold on, what happened?" And then the next morning, and then I remembered because Kajabi has the resend to unopened. People who didn't open your newsletter, they just automatically do it for you. But it has to be over a 20% open rate, and it has to be at least 24 or 48 hours after you sent it. And it was, so then I was like, okay. So I made myself a calendar reminder the next morning at 8 a.m., sent it on Saturday, and then it got another like 25% open rate. And I was like, hold on. We're sitting at like a 60% blended rate? Are you kidding me? So I was like, that's got to be a fluke. Next week, I do it again. And boom, hits again. And I was like, are you kidding me? But then my heart breaks again because last week, so we get into a rhythm. I don't know. We did that for what, 5-6 weeks? We're just crushing it.
Yeah, I was like, we're good.
Crushing it. Last week, I send it full confidence, go on there about halfway through the day, refresh the page, and it's like 11%. And I said, whoa, what's going on? I Googled, is it a holiday? And it's like, no, it's not a holiday. And I was like, oh, okay, what happened? And I remember I texted you and I was just like, hey, I'm assuming it's the subject line and potentially the fact that everybody starts vacation weeks this week. So let's just make it the next week and see what happens. But the whole week I'm sitting there going, are you joking me?
Yeah.
After all this has happened,
made this discovery, and now we're going downhill.
So then this week, I mean, we're literally filming this on Friday. As of Thursday, which was yesterday, I'm just going to pull it up for proof here.
Yeah.
As of Thursday, we are currently back in it at a 42% open rate, and tomorrow we will resend and probably get 15 to 20% of a blended average. So I'm looking at it. The week before was 22%. 22, even with the resend, we didn't hit 30%. We only hit 29%.
That's such a wild thing because all the others are consistent, and it's just an outlier, which is interesting.
Everything else is 47, 48, 43. This week's was 42. So it's crazy, man. That's, praise the Lord, the newsletter is working and not dying out here. So I don't know if you want to go into LinkedIn content and how you made a shift. I feel like you've been beating that drum for 6 months, and finally, you went through the beat, and then now you finally are coming out of the valley and seeing results from it.
Yeah, I was. Content creation is tough. I've been doing it since 2016, and I've definitely found a groove within LinkedIn for years, right? But in the past, I'd say 8 months to 12 months, I hit this like rut. I don't know. I probably had a couple things. I think one, I was just in like a negative state, to be fair. Like, I think after like 2022 of like leaving JV sales, leaving SIA, starting my own thing, it was just a lot mentally. And I never really had a moment of like reflecting on what I did at JV sales, what I wanted to do. It's just a lot. And so I think I was just like in a weird state where I was like, I don't want to talk about sales. I want to talk about something different, but I don't know what that is. And so my content was all over the place, just like my mind was all over the place. And I always tell my friends, like, you can tell if someone is going through something or their energy just on their content alone. You can tell like what's happening. And so I was just literally all over the place. And so as I started seeing my impressions, engagement, everything was going down. And so I was like, what is going on? So I remember being like, I have to go figure this out. So I went and removed my ego from the situation and got coaching on how to write, coaching on the platform, coaching on how to just get better at content, which and most people in my position would not do this, especially if you're doing it for a long time. You're just like, I'll figure it out myself. I was like, no, like there's something here I'm just missing. And what we identified is that my hooks were actually coming from a negative place. So it actually was.
I told
You
you
told
that,
me that.
bro.
You told
I
me.
told you that before. You didn't even have to pay for any
No, we didn't
coaching,
go for the
bro.
coaching on that. But so my hooks was coming from a negative place. The formatting of my posts weren't. They weren't. They were actually on like an 8th to 10th. This is crazy. They were on an 8th to 10th grade reading level. So it was actually too complex for some people to read. Now, if you look at my posts, now they're actually on a 1 to 3 grade reading level. That's why they're actually, and we'll talk about what that means. And I think also as well, I was just giving generic or old tips, and I wasn't giving like what I'm actually doing right now, like my real play. Like, let's get in depth. And so I remember through the coaching calls that I had, the advice was like, you have the content, your packaging is off. You just need to like drill in, get engaged again, and take this seriously. And to be fair, like most people face this, like I've definitely gotten to coast mode on LinkedIn for sure. Like once you reach a certain threshold, you kind of can coast. Especially again, I've been doing it for a long time, so I definitely hit a coast button, and I hadn't been really serious about it in a while. So I told myself to get obsessed again, to get really serious, and then that's when things changed. So I started writing 5 posts a day, not posting 5 posts a day. To clarify, writing 5 posts a day because I wanted to get better at my writing. I started studying everyone's posts, everyone's hooks, how they're writing, the formatting, the call to action, how they're engaging with their comments. Like I started getting very in depth. I started commenting on their stuff. I started picking up my DMs. I do about 30 to 50 proactive DMs a day while responding, while engaged with the comments. So this became a lot, right? I mean, this is a lot of time commitment. I'm not gonna lie, but because we focus on creators and content, this is I have to know how to do this, right? It's
Important.
important.
Yeah.
It's not like we're doing like auto mechanic and like okay, we can kind of no. This is our bit. This is what we do. So that's why I think it was just mentally hard for me because I was like I've never faced this before. So when I made that switch to that type of content, I also made a critical switch, which is part of the newsletter. And we started saying instead of how you do it or how to, we just said how I. Like, here's how I do this thing. Which you're always taught not to talk in I, especially with cold emails. So it was counterintuitive to what I had learned. But I was clearly wrong. So every how I post or my thing just started going nuts. So once I started getting coaching, it was in I remember seeing the screenshot. What was it like?
I
Mid-April?
I don't know, but I would say I think this is something interesting you could talk about here too, because a lot of people I never really see this outside of the big guys who make YouTube videos about it, but like talk about how much money that we've paid as a company for coaching for you on social this year.
Oh yeah. So far we spent 50,000.
Yeah,
On pace we'll probably end up
easy.
spending 80,000 at the end of the year. Maybe
And if
honestly,
you count
probably even more to be
the
honest.
conference, if you count the Bet David conference, just general
It's 20
wise,
grand. We paid 20 grand to
that's
go to
20
that.
grand. So
And
yeah, we're paying a lot on, yeah,
we're paying
a lot on coaching.
on
Yeah.
coaching, and I mean the thing is somebody like that's a lot of money. And like, look, there's 2 people that said something to me, and like Alex Ramosi was like, if I would have run this back again, I would spend, I think he said like 70 or 80% of his money on coaching. So I'm like, all right, well, he's exited 9 businesses. Maybe we should listen to him. And then I know that you've seen a couple of his content. We went to college together. Eddie Malouf, he was like, yo, like I
Yeah.
just spent all my money on coaching and I could. And so when you see 2 credible people and successful people say something, and then also I was watching another podcast and someone said the same exact thing, I was like, okay, these people are way more successful than me, so I'm gonna listen. And it's paid dividends. I mean, look, we're not paying $1 million for coaching, but the numbers that we gave you, some of you may freak out about it, and I understand that, but we're making that 10, 20x at the end of the year. I'll tell you that right now. Because we've gone from posts that don't really have that much impressions or little to no engagement, where we're now getting posts that are getting 100, 200, 300 comment posts. This
in a day.
In a day. This is different. This
Yeah.
is not. There's no pods here. Be straight with people. There are no pods here. There is no back end. There is no bot farming. This isn't like 1,000 likes and 2 comments. This is.
And I'll even say that's something that we've been brought. Like, people have brought that to us, and we've had to make the decision for the integrity of our brand. And I'm not saying there's anything illegal or immoral about it, but we just decided if we're going to do this and sell these services, we want to make sure that we can fulfill and have legitimate people engage with our clients' content if they're going to operate with us as a subject matter expert.
100%. And within that, we want to, as we learn the skill and as we've been going along in this content, we change it to like we've been changing it to plays. It's been more tactical. We started shouting people out. The audience growth is actually skyrocketing. We're getting 200 to 300 followers a day right now, and that will continuously increase. And we're also seeing new people in the comments every single time. That's really important because if you look at a lot of people's posts, like you'll see the same people every single time, but we're getting new people every single post. And as I'm speaking, I have to spend the next probably 2-3 hours responding to all the posts this week because they're still getting reshares because of the engagement, because we're just on this momentum. So I think with every problem, there's always a solution because most people's problems aren't that unique. Someone at some point has faced that and you just have to go find the solution. But I think investing into coaching instead of going and buying, I thought about it, right? Instead of going getting the Porsche 911, right? Instead of going to do something crazy, right? Instead of being like, yo, I'm going to go get this crazy thing I'm going to go get this watch. I was like, that's not important right now. We need to go invest into coaching. I think it's probably at that moment where we had the profit for me to go do the crazier stuff. I believe the best decision for me was to get the coaching, and I think that actually was probably one of the better decisions this year for sure.
I agree, and I think that's something important too. Is going to what you're talking about with the profit is like that is something that me and you had to lay the foundation for before the team ever came on. Was how are we? I mean, for one, it was finances. And I feel like the way that we were able to create shared common language was through profit first. And we were like, okay, we're going to, for those of you who don't know, there's a book called Profit First that I feel like is the best way, in my opinion, on how to do small business finances. And it's literally, I was like, okay, we got to create a couple accounts. We're going to create a tax account because we ain't trying to get in trouble here. We're going to create an operations account, which is where all of us are going to get paid out of. Contractors are going to get paid out of, and then we're going to create a profit account. What we had to do, again, just to switch things up a little bit, was when we started doing events again, we just created an event account so that we could keep all that money siloed. And I feel like that's been really clean for us because we know when every dollar comes in, percentages of it get allocated into each thing. Oh, and then we have an emergency fund account as well. And I think that's something that a lot of first-time founders don't do well. I mean, in the first business I founded, I didn't do that well, and it ended up, killing the business. Was we didn't put away giant amounts of money into an emergency fund so that if things go downhill, like at the moment, if AMP something happened and we had no money coming in, no revenue coming in, we would be okay for about 8 months with our current payroll. And I feel like that takes a lot of the day-to-day pressure off of us. It takes cash flow pressure off because guess what? If there's my thumbs up again. If my little thumbs up emoji, but if clients don't pay for, say they're 30 days late, not that it doesn't matter, but the stress of having to pay the team isn't there because we can just dip into reserves if we need to. And I also think another wise thing that we've done is at the end of the day, you and I could pull all the profit money right now and you could go to Ibiza and I could go to, wherever in Montana.
I'm already going to Ibiza, so, it's already happening. So
like we could do that and we could go buy a house in Italy right now, whatever. Like we could go do those things. But I think it's wiser to hold on because of how young of a company we are. Now, if we're 5 years down the road and there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit sitting in the account, you and I are probably going to go buy a house in Italy.
But it's also to your point, it's using the profit to fuel drivers that will lead to the growth of the business. So there's no growth to the business if you were to go get a place in Italy right now. Like, unless there was like, we had 1 million clients over there, like maybe that actually kind of makes sense. But like, that doesn't make sense right now. What makes sense is, okay, well, there's a huge piece right now where a lot of people are saying reach is down on LinkedIn. It's not for me. There's all this stuff, etc. So it's like, okay, well, if we decide, let's just figure it out. Reach isn't down. We just got to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the difference in the mindset, because it's easy to fall into reach is down, because that it is holistically down, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a way to succeed.
Yep.
And so I think
we just have to figure it out.
We just got to figure it out. It's a problem. It's not great. We're in this situation, but how do we get out of it? And I feel like that mindset allowed us to fix the newsletter. And then even with the AMP positioning, we said, hey, look, boom, we got to get rid of this old website. We got to get a new one, right? That's when we got Trevor. That's when we started getting that stuff going on. And then I also looked at the content, and it's like, okay, well, after speaking to people coaching, like, the content's there. They said, okay, no, we've seen a lot of content. The content's good. You just got to repackage it. All right, cool. We got to figure out, what does that mean for us? And then we've now found out the consistencies of what it is. Because, like, there's no fluke right now in getting the level of engagement that we currently have.
Yeah.
Like, there's not. Like,
everything's up. What was it? 150% over the last
30 days. It's up 140, like 130% impressions wise.
Yeah.
Engagement's up like 220%.
Our newsletter's up 300%.
So it's like, the switch we made was correct, right? The
money we invested was correctly invested.
And here's the thing. Now I'm like, where do we invest next, right? To take that to the next level, right? That's the next piece, because now, okay, we got LinkedIn going. We've also invested into Twitter. That has actually gone from 8,000 followers to I think almost 12,000 followers in the past month and a half, like 2 months. So, and that's starting to roll. That's starting to get people involved. And then, we're going to go to IG, we're going to YouTube. So, I'm figure out who or what not to invest in to go into that. But ultimately, it's like, how do you just continuously get better is like my whole thing right now. And so taking the advice from people, even though you may feel skeptical about it, investing the money into credible people, make sure you vet these sources. Everyone we invested to was already vetted. They already had engagement. They already were people. I knew these people already. And I'm willing to also pay people the money, even if it's your friends too. Like, pay them the money. That's another thing as well. Like, some of these people I know personally, and I was just like, yeah, like, just I'll pay you for the services. Like, let's get to work. And so we've actually learned a lot from that, and I've learned a lot from just working with them. And now things are rolling, right? And it's good.
Yeah, and I think something that's interesting too is, because a lot of people could say, okay, you're a young company, which we're a very young company.
Yeah.
We're a young company. We don't have crazy amounts of cash. Like, we have a healthy amount, not crazy amounts.
Crazy, yeah.
But one of the things that I feel like we did well was when we were looking at investing this money, because somebody could say, okay, you're talking about investing $70,000 into coaching in a year. Like, how do you decide that? And I think something that helped us out a lot is I feel like you're normally pretty optimistic when it comes to, like, oh, this person said they could get us this or that or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you see the best in people. Whereas I normally go, okay, alarms up. What's the issue? Is there something here? Let me go vet them here, this, and that. And I feel like you normally come to everything with, here's why this will work. And then I come to it with like a pessimistic mindset of, these are the things that I'm concerned about. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't spend money on it, but these are concerns that I have. And I feel like after you and I get done talking, after 30 minutes to an hour, we normally have our decision, and we're like, okay, here's all my concerns. And then you answer them. And then if there's not positive answers that we both feel confident about, we don't spend the money.
No.
But if we can address the concerns, and it's like, yeah, okay, those are legitimate concerns, but the upside here is a lot higher percentage wise than if we were to spend the money, then it's like, great. And I think something that's helped me a lot, even thinking that, is when I come to problems, my first question is like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I mean, I even do this with my personal finances. It's probably not the wisest thing in the world where I'm like, what's the worst thing that can happen? I do this, this, and that. I take these chances and I end up bankrupt. Like, guess what? I have a bunch of good friends that'll help me figure it out. And in 10 years, it'll be off my credit. Like, if that's the worst thing that's going to happen for me taking risk, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And if all that happens, I'm just gonna move to Mexico and live on a beach, and that'll be great.
Mexico City, hey, so let's get it.
I'll go do the thing. So like, if that's the worst thing that can happen, if you come to problems with that predisposition and ask that question, I feel like that helps de-risk whatever you're talking about. Now, if you talk about investing $100,000 at one time in a position that we're in, then you're talking about something that probably should take a little bit more time. But yeah, I think we've had a wise decision making process so far. As we kind of put a bow on this now, because I feel like we've talked about a lot. I'll finish with what I'm currently excited about. This is the weirdest thing. When people listen to this, they're probably gonna be like, "Why does this excite you?" But it just excites me. Because of my position in the business at the current moment, I have to play the financial role at the business. And so one of the things that I've noticed in talking with a lot of operators for creator brands and larger creator brands is that for the first several years, the creator didn't have like a healthy base salary. It was just, if there's excess, the creator will take some money, but really they're just living off a little bit here and there to make sure that they can pay their bills. Something that I'm really excited about is 3 months ago, we put you on like a healthy base salary. Like, we're not talking about like chump change. Like, we're talking about a healthy base salary outside of the profit and whatever else the business is paying for. And so that's currently what's exciting me the most, is the fact that we're able to do that and still keep a healthy profit margin, even outside of paying you, our team, and our tech stack and normal business expenses. Is that we are, as Sam Jacobs would say, since he shouted us out on his podcast, I'll shout him out on ours, that we are a profitable, efficient growth business as of June. I mean, the whole time we've been in business. The whole time we've been that. But as of June 14th, 2024, we are still a profitable, efficient growth business.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm currently excited about. How about you?
I love that. What I'm currently excited, for those who know me, they're gonna be like, "Wait, this is like not the answer you might expect here." But today, I really woke up feeling this way. I'm the most excited about how everyone has grown and evolved as a person, and I'm just really thankful for like everybody on the team. And I'm actually the most excited about people taking this opportunity and it just taking that to the next level for them, for sure. We've seen it with Steph, we've seen it with Garrett. Even when I was having conversations with Anish today, we've seen it in him, his confidence, etc. Even in you, how you've taken on the role and a lot of different things that are new. I think the most exciting, I think the most exciting thing for me is just seeing everyone just like operate as this unit, and yeah, it's just something I'm thankful for. Like, it's just something you don't see often. Train a lot of teams, been a lot of places. It's just not something you see. So I'm just the most excited about like people like getting in their lanes. And my last one here is, I think everyone's in their lane right now. That's why I'm excited. Like, seeing G just in his lane with social, like that. As a creator, I don't even really understand. Like, not because he does all like the back end, the posting, and like comes up with the photos. Like, not having to go look at a photo and then posting it. That might sound very minuscule, but it's actually massive because it requires another thought process of, I got to go think about I got to go post. So I don't have to worry about it. All I have to do is show up and engage. The content's already written. I write all the content. But to have someone be active and then being like, okay, I can handle this, I can do that. Seeing him in his lane is cool. Steph in his lane. And Nisha's in his bag right now with our clients right now. Like, I mean, the success level he's doing right now is crazy. And then you're just able to like just make sure everything is smooth. Like, how many times have I told you, like, yo, what's going on here? It's like, done. Or I'm like, hey, you should do this. And it's
done.
like, it's already done. I'm like, oh, great. So, like, that's
Yeah.
probably the thing I'm the most excited about. I haven't personally had a team and support like this in a while, or probably ever to a degree. And it's been really cool to just see everyone just like take things to a whole different level that I didn't foresee when they first came on.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because a lot of people, even like, I feel like this is a hiring tip for the people who are like me and nobody ever talks about any of this stuff. Um, a hiring tip I would say is, so when we hired Garrett, his job description looks 100% different than it does now. But we said in 90 days of you we know this, the job we're hiring you for right now is not your dream job, and we know that.
Yeah.
But that is currently what the business needs, and we can offer you money to fulfill that need.
Yeah.
But the hope was in 90 days we can move you into this role
Yeah.
as we see it coming down the pipe. And I think it took us 110 days, so we were a little off there time-wise.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. I don't know how you get much better than that.
Yeah.
Especially as a startup. And so one of the things, though, it's like you got to be, when you're doing a legit startup, and especially if you're bootstrapping, like you got to be flexible with your people. Like, know what their strengths are, know what their weaknesses are. I mean, Garrett literally this morning, he did like a personality test and sent something to me, and it basically said he has like no admin gifting. And I was like, I agree with that 100%. But I was like, but you have a creative gifting,
Yeah.
and so we need to sit you in that seat. And I think he's probably 45 days away from having nothing in his job description that he's currently not gifted for. And so the fact that we're able to keep doing that, same with Steph. When Steph first came on, he had some certain things in his job description that I thought it was going to take a lot more time. And then he ends up coming up, and like in 5 hours a week, he's getting something done. I thought it was going to take 25 hours a week. So he's just added a bunch onto his job description, which has been amazing. And when we were filming with Sam Jacobs, Sam did a video where he talked about the best people. I think he was talking specifically to VPs of sales, but I just brought it back as a hiring and a talent thing in general. Was the best people, they get hired and they get paid to do X, but the best people who make money, get raises, make their bosses' lives easier, they do X plus Y, but Y is nothing of what your boss has to tell you. That's what you take ownership of in private, and then give them the results of that later on. And I mean, Steph literally took that to heart and was like, I want to be the Y. I want to do X plus Y. And he started to,
going crazy.
anytime something's even something we've thought about, he's like, oh, I've already built it. Here's the link to it. If you need anything changed, let me change it. It's like, dude, it's literally amazing. And then I feel like Anish just pulls money out of his socks every day.
I know, he's like, hey, we got this. I'm like, how did you even get that contract? Like, what did you tell them?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Just like one day he's like, oh, here's 20 G's, here's 50 G's, there you go.
Great, man.
It's just been insane. And then I think one last thing here is something that excites me too is everybody on the team can sell. Like
at a moment's notice.
I mean, I'm not going to give details on it, but this week I closed 20 grand of work through text messages that was just random. People just text me, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm like, great, yeah, here's what I would do. And they're like, great, can we hire y'all to do it? Sure, here you go, contract signed. Yeah. Can I go ahead and pay you now? Sure. So it's like, I mean, man, to be able to have a team where at any moment's notice somebody could just walk in with a $20,000 check is.
That's how I felt the past 2 weeks. And he's just like, yo, I got this thing for like 20 grand. I'm like, it's how? Like, we're doing what for them? Like, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you want to wrap this up. That was a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. I mean, yeah, the goal is this is just sharing the journey. I feel like, building in public, we do a portion of that, but I think the thing is like, you know, me and now you're learning Stu is like, we just like get to it, you know, like this is it, right? This is what's going on. I will say that mentally, this is all been like hard sometimes. Like there are times where Stuart and I have been on calls and we're like, we really don't know what's next, to be fair. Like, we're like, I remember a call we had where we were like, what's going on? Because like everything was going down. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
But I remember that conversation. And I told you I was like, but we're okay
yeah,
because we have an emergency fund.
yeah,
And that's where I feel like that stress. It's
yeah,
like, okay, imagine if we were dealing with all that plus like, can we pay the team this month?
yeah, different. Yeah, just different.
That's a different level of stress. This is like, okay, because like there's been times in other businesses I've ran or co-owned that like I didn't take a paycheck for certain months to make sure we could pay our team.
Yeah.
So the fact we don't have to deal with that stress, anything else, man, we can figure it out.
100%.
Like, I'm not worried about that.
100%. And so, yeah, I would just wrap this with saying that like the cornerstone, I think, of the problems and all the stuff we talk about reflecting. If you are facing the chasm and you're like, I don't know what to do, I would highly encourage you to either go find a coach who has already done it to speed up the process to get the result, or there's obviously YouTube, there's all these different places. Like go find and seek out the piece. But know if you have a problem, know that it typically isn't that unique and someone has solved it, and just go. There's a way to find the answer. That's how I'd wrap this whole entire thing.
And it's so easy to get into the mindset of, oh, this is a unique problem. Nobody's ever dealt with this specifically. And then it's easy to lay in that and waste time sulking rather than just going
100%.
and figuring it out. Because more than likely, somebody's dealt with the problem before.
They've already done it.
And you can get through it. And in 2 days, you're through the problem.
Yep.